for conversation, right? You'd pick it up, it'd be very hissy, right? Because of just the low sensitivity of the microphone.
Gotcha.
But they also go from infrasound all the way into the ultrasound.
Excellent.
So in terms of a response, they're better than the humans.
So we care a lot about the frequencies of the rocket as well as how loud it is.
Right.
And for these really big rockets, you get down to like really low frequencies, under 10 hertz or so. And so we care about how much energy is behind the different frequencies.
Right.
And so that's important for these specific microphones. And so what we had to do is know really precisely how they behave at those low frequencies, how they respond.
How the microphones respond?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And so to test that, to generate some really low frequencies, we put these all in the car, had them recording, and then just drove our car on the freeway for 30 minutes.
Really?
And that helps you get to like really low frequencies, the ones even below what we'll expect with the rocket.
We brought out, well over a dozen different measurement systems for this particular launch, and it is a challenge to try and get good quality data at all these different distances. We have to use different microphones up close to the vehicle, like at this location, and then we use different microphones farther away that are, a different sensitivity, work in a different frequency range.
Right now, we're just getting the initial data because this is the second time the world's most powerful rocket.
And we have no idea if our first data set was representative of every Starship launch or if it was an outlier. We have no idea.
Excellent.
And so hoping to solve some of those mysteries for, the whole community.
All right. As you know, we caught up with BYU out in the field, but we've also got BYU here with us on set at our command center. Please welcome to the stream Dr. Kent G. from the BYU Acoustics team. How's it going?
Good. Thanks, Doss. Glad to be here.
So we really wanted to get you on here because you are basically an expert in rocket acoustics. I think I can say that, right? We wanted to talk a little bit about Starship, world's most powerful rocket. You had the opportunity with your team, your students, to record some last time for Flight 5. What did we learn? How loud is it? And what are we putting together for this launch?
Well, as you might expect, Starship is loud.
It's pretty loud.
Right. I mean, the level, in some sense, the level of a rocket just scales with the thrust, right?
Right.
And so you think of a small rocket, right? Medium and loud levels, certainly louder than an aircraft, right?
Sure.
But then you get to something like this, and it's just going to be a lot louder.
It's like off the chart almost. We could talk more about how our normal ways of mapping sound, rockets don't really care for those. They're way above those.
Right. But yeah, we measured at the last launch distances from about 6 miles to about 25 miles, right? Okay. 10 kilometers to 35 kilometers. And we measured sound levels at 10 kilometers, right, that are similar to things like rock concerts, chainsaws, when measured on kind of metrics that relate to the human ear.
So like there's all sorts of different ways, and we would spend 3 hours explaining all the vagaries of decibels and how they work. A decibel is not a decibel, as it turns out.
As we already have, right?
We have on our live show. But if you were over at around Port Isabel, it was like rock concert levels.
That's right.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about other rockets that you've measured. So rock concert here, how did it stack up to, say, SLS, previously the world's most powerful flown rocket?
Right. So what we did as part of our analysis is that we looked at SLS, right?
Right.
And SLS we measured in kind of similar distance ranges, right, out in the community kind of levels. And what we found from this is that if you were to take Starship and you launch it once, right, and then you were to take somewhere like 4 to 6, call it 5, right? Call it 5 SLSs, and you were to stack them right next to each other and launch them all at the same time.
At once.
That's about what Starship is.
No kidding.
It really is. And that's based on looking at measurements at 10 kilometers and 20 kilometers and several different metrics. We kind of just averaged different metrics, different ways of looking at the sound together, and said it's about this, right?
It's about that. Yeah. So one Starship, about 4 or 5 SLSs.
Sure.
How many Falcon 9s? I'm just going to ask off the cuff.
Yeah, Falcon 9s, right? So when we looked at the Falcon 9, I mean, Starship is about 10 times the thrust, right, of Falcon 9. And I would say, based on our analysis, that it is at least the equivalent of 10 Falcon 9s
10
launching
Falcon 9s.
simultaneously.
All in along, it's like a Falcon heavy.
Yeah, imagine
strapped
stacking
together.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got to record some information last flight, and you had these microphones that calibrated scientific instruments, not like my cell phone with an app on it or whatever, right? You gathered this information. We also know that SpaceX did some predictions as part of the environmental analysis. SpaceX said, hey, we've modeled this. We think it's going to be about this. How did SpaceX do in terms of accuracy out here at the community levels? And I know this is really complicated, but let's start with liftoff and then talk about the sonic booms.
Great. I think when we look at liftoff, there, again, as we've talked about, there are different metrics that get quantified different aspects of the sound. And some of those are modeled in the different reports produced by SpaceX and then the FAA's.
It's like the difference between like raw energy, like raw physics energy, but then how do humans perceive it? And that's sort of, it's complicated.
So we call that unweighted, the physics, and then weighted human response, right? Weighted sound levels. And so for the unweighted sound levels, it turns out that the reports under-predicted were below what was actually measured.
So SpaceX's models over-predicted. It was actually quieter on liftoff than they thought it was going. Did I say that correct?
Absolutely, the reverse.
The reverse.
It was louder on liftoff than what was predicted for just the raw measured energy.
The raw physics energy.
That's right.
Okay,
but then another metric, for example, how much human-weighted sound is present during the entire liftoff event. We call that the sound exposure level.
Right.
And when we look at that, it actually the predictions over-predict, right? In the sense that they predicted a lot more energy than what was actually present.
And that's like the total exposure, right?
Yeah,
like
the total
rocket
exposure was less measured than what was predicted.
So think about it this way: like how loud the sound is for a brief instant, like a second or something. That's one number. And the rocket was louder than they thought in that sort of like raw energy. But when they looked at the other way, that prediction was a little bit under.
Correct.
Now, the reason we're talking through this is because these models are important, right?
These models are very important. They're used to determine environmental impact.
Right.
Right. And as they get these launch licenses and things like that, they're constantly reviewing new information and looking at environmental assessments. Right.
Right.
And so having data helps to interpret, right? Are we on? Are we off? Where do we need to improve? Especially as Starship's launch cadence increases.
Right. And that's the thing. This is the world's most powerful rocket. We have not had a rocket like this before. How loud is it? Well, we need to measure it. Are the models for smaller rockets and other things like military jets and commercial jets, are those models relevant to the rocket? The only way to find out is to put sensors in the field and actually record it, which is what your team's doing.
Correct.
Excellent. Let's talk about the sonic booms.
Correct.
We saw all sorts of information, PSAs, public service announcements, warnings about the sonic booms, because not a lot of people experience those. They're surprised down here. All of a sudden, there's a crack of thunder. What was that? Well, it was the rocket coming back. How often does that happen? But you measured the sonic booms as well, didn't you?
We did, actually. Yep.
How did those stack up?
And when you compare it to their predictions, right? What's really fascinating is that they had predictions before flight 1, right? And then just before flight 5,
right?
They, like the day before flight 5,
the day before,
they updated the predictions.
There's like a paper file.
There was a paper filed on October 12th. It flew on October 13th, right?
Right.
And the predictions are a lot closer.
Really?
Yep. So from 10 to 35 kilometers, they are closer. Now, the one exception is that at 10 kilometers, we measured it being higher on average with multiple stations than what was predicted, leaving an open question. Well, what happens on a second flight, right? A second attempt to catch the booster, and also what happens closer to the rocket.
Yep.
Both questions we're trying to answer as part of this flight.
But that's what science does. Science asks questions. They go out there and they record information. And once we have that, we'll have actual facts instead of speculation or guesses or models or whatever about how the world's most powerful rocket outputs its energy. How's that say?
We are all about facts here.
All about the facts. Excellent. So that's a huge thing. You measured sort of farther field distances last time, sort of where the community, where the public is, and looked at the sonic booms. You also caught the sonic boom of the hot staging ring, didn't you?
We did. It was fascinating.
It wasn't like expected, but there's a little jump in the graph, I think.
There is right at the end of our paper, right? Inside our paper, right at the end of the waveform that we show.
Yeah.
There it shows the the flyback boom event, and then it shows the landing noise, and then just I don't know, was it 30 seconds after?
Yeah.
You just see this jump, and it was measured at all 8 of our stations.
Okay.
From 10 kilometers all the way about 35 kilometers, again 20 something miles out there in Brownsville. And it's very clear and it's very clean. And I don't know that I would have expected it. Just this ring falling from the sky, right?
To create a sonic boom.
To create
as
a
well.
sonic boom, a supersonic ring falling from the sky, right?
So a couple different things on this, y'all. We sat down as part of our Flame Trench live show a couple days ago. It's just a couple days ago now. The time flies. And we talked for almost an hour and a half.
Yeah.
We dug into the data. We looked at all the graphs. We looked at the paper that you put out. And we talked about that in depth. So if you're interested in the more in-depth conversation about everything that we went through, the Flame Trench is really the place to do that. We had live Q&A with the audience, and you talked us through not just, oh, here's some results, but how we can understand the results, right?
And I just got to say, that's a very rare opportunity.
To be able to talk about your work?
Yeah, exactly, right. I mean, I think there are more people probably watching this live that have ever read my papers. like all 200 papers I've ever written.
How many people are watching this right now? Look, I'm going to look at my phone real quick. What are we up to? 50,000 people watching right now?
Guaranteed there are more people watching this right now. So, but no, it was a really neat opportunity to be able to dive into the science and carefully, in context, go through and talk about not just to be able to set up the story, right? And I think that's critical.
And the understanding.
And to be able to, because I think that's the neat thing is that if we can take the time, and communicate science in a way, right? It's just about building context. Everybody can understand what's going on as long as we build some context, right? I think about this on a daily basis. Most people don't. Right.
But if your shirt says that, BYU
that's
Acoustics,
right. Daily basis, literally, right? but it was a really neat opportunity. And what's also cool is that this paper, which I think the link is provided in the Flame Trench.
It is. We're going to get there. In fact, let's put the paper link in here now. Mods, just please. You made it so this paper was open to the public.
That's right. We published it specifically in a journal that A, was rapid publication, and B, we paid a fee so that it would be open access so that anybody in the public can download this. And we tried to provide as many real world comparisons to make this as interesting and digestible as possible, not only just to academics, but to the whole public.
To the whole public. So that's a whole thing. Have you ever clicked on a scientific paper link and it takes you to this paywall thing where you have to be a member of the journal or whatever, or pay a fee to read it? For this specific research, knowing that so many people would be interested in the results, they made the paper free to the public. You can click on it, you can read the whole thing, you can look at the graphs, you can make your own decisions. That's what the new world is all about, right? And watch the Flame Trench where Dr. G here talked through in detail exactly how you can understand this. Well, this is the raw physics energy, and this is the loudest point over 1 second, and this is your total exposure, the amount of energy that you are exposed to for 15 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever. We had such a good conversation about that.
It was. Can I just shout out one thing?
Of course.
Right? Got to shout out the Acoustical Society of America and their journals for making this happen so quickly.
Turning a paper around.
To be able to
rapidly.
turn a paper around, to go through the review process, the editing process, the publication process, in the time that it happened, it was phenomenal and frankly just unprecedented.
Excellent.
Everybody understood the mission here, right? Was to get something out for the public before this flight.
Before this flight.
Because
everybody would be so interested. So your team went above and beyond. The journal went above and beyond, made it open to the public. So here's what I need y'all to help us out with, right? We want more scientists to come and help us understand things. So the metric that they're interested in is how many people went out and checked out this paper, right? So the link that is going in chat, mods, please get the link if you don't have it. Spam it in the chat a couple times and give it a read. It's got some technical stuff in it, like the A weighting and the Z weighting.
And you can engage me on X if you want to, or LinkedIn if you got questions. Myself, my students, we're here.
Gotcha.
Go ahead.
No, go and download the paper. There's the link. I can see it being spammed over there because there's a little counter, and at some point, the journal is going to see how many times people were interested in looking at that paper. So if you want more science fact, to go along with what used to be science fiction. You like that?
That's perfect.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I
Wasn't
like
it?
that.
Go and check out the paper and then ask some questions about it. Let's talk really quickly. The terms that threw me off the most
Mhm.
was the Z-weighted versus A-weighted,
Right.
And that's how you started the conversation last time.
Right.
But talk me through really quickly, when I look at that paper and it says Z-weighted, what does that mean? Why do I care?
Z-weighted is just that's acoustic speak, right?
Right.
But Z-weighted, that is your raw physics energy.
The raw
right?
energy.
How much pressure is present at the location you're measuring? And that could be low frequencies below the range of human hearing, mid frequencies that we hear well, or like bat frequencies, right? Ultrasound. That's just measuring the pressure.
That's like things you might not even be able to perceive. As a human with your little human ears, you may have no context down in the low frequencies and the high frequencies.
But that's the physics, right?
That's
so
the
we
physics,
start
is the
there.
Z-weight.
We look at the Z-weighting, and we do care also. The Z-weighting is most closely related to things like structural concerns and structural damage. And so when you get above a certain amount, they do care about the maximum level, and that's the Z-weighted or unweighted level.
Gotcha. Now, the A weighting is where we start to put it into context for human beings. Like, I don't want y'all to be scared of these terms. It's right there at the top, Z weighting, A weighting, and I'm like, oh, a headache.
But A weighting. A weighting is just the idea that, look, we hear better at some frequencies than others. And so when they calculate the numbers, they say, let's get rid of some of the low frequency energy. Let's get rid of some of the high frequency energy, and let's just do the calculation again.
Right.
And then that gives us a new number that supposedly corresponds to human hearing.
Gotcha.
Now, the caveat in that is that when we come to rockets are loud, rockets are rumbly, rockets are crackly.
Yep.
And the A weighting metric was really designed for quiet sounds.
I think on the other show you told me like the A weighting metric, the way that whole thing is sort of tuned is like whisper to conversation.
Kind of in that whisper to conversation range. And that's what most sounds we're exposed to are like, the ambient environmental sounds.
Yep.
Rockets are different. And so
like rockets are up here.
But that's what's driving the conversation right now, is those kinds of metrics. So that's what we reported in this paper.
Gotcha.
Years of studies to come.
So don't be scared. I want you to look at the paper. There's stuff in there that you'll get. Like, hey, if you were this far away, it was like a rock concert or a chainsaw. If it was this far away, it was about that. There's some examples for you in there, but you can see the graphs as well, exactly how the shape of a sonic boom is. Really, the definitions that we went through in the other show where we had an hour and a half to talk through it. Got a lot of that for us. But please look through it, because I think, personally, one of the most important things, if you want to have an opinion on something, you should get yourself informed, right? And looking at raw data like this is the way you do that.
Right. And I totally agree. And I think, conversations start with data.
Yes.
Right. I think we have a lot of people that are, well, I'm pro space, so therefore
I want to see rockets fly.
We're going to see rockets fly.
Yep.
No matter what, right? And then there's people that say, but the rockets impact this, people or whatever. You can't start having conversations that bring together on how do we solve these challenges without data.
Unless you have the data. And that's something I imagine that might be in chat. I've seen a little bit of it on X and my DMs and that sort of stuff. This isn't about, the rocket can't fly because it's too loud. That's not what it is. This is the world's new most powerful rocket. We need to know what the facts are. We need to know how loud this thing is, and that's where y'all come in.
Exactly. We're here to get the data, not to necessarily try to assess impact at the beginning. That's not my job. I'm a scientist.
Right.
There are policy experts that are around for that to have that conversation.
Yep.
But we can all come together, I think, and learn and figure out, hey, how do we do both?
Yep. With the raw data, not just making up things or using things that are 50 years outdated that we recorded long ago. I want to finish up here with a little bit of a discussion about what you're doing this time.
Sure.
So we were 10 plus kilometers out. I think you're a little closer this time.
We have stations that are about as close as about 1 kilometer away.
1 kilometer.
1 kilometer away. We also have, we've more than doubled the number of stations. So
okay.
I don't want to put the number up because we'll see what we actually get.
We'll see what we get data recorded on.
As you know, sometimes it's hard to have things like, cables and transmission. We've already seen cables chewed on in the field since we've deployed.
You lost a cable to like a coyote or something like that. They had to go replace a cable that a coyote chewed.
Yeah, so we'll see what we actually get. But space is hard. Field acoustics is hard, right? We'll get additional data here. The other cool thing is that we had a morning launch,
right?
And now we have an afternoon launch, and so we expect the acoustical environment potentially could be different. And the thing I was telling you before, right, is that we may be even validating our own conclusions for our
Yep.
first paper, and we'll do that.
But that's how science works.
That's how science works. But what it means is that we will refine our estimates and go from there.
Gotcha. So y'all be on the lookout. Read this paper. There's more research to come out. Like if you're interested on why Falcon 9 has X number of sonic booms, I think y'all have been doing some stuff on that and other things that I don't know. I'm waiting to see if he says anything to see if I'm spoiling anything. But experts on acoustics, experts on rocket acoustics as well. And if you want to learn more about the rockets, the noises that rockets make, these are the places. The BYU team is the place to go.
We're having fun doing it.
Having fun doing it.
We'll be on again, hopefully.
How many folks are here this time?
There are 6 of us here this time, but I've got probably 12, 13, 14 students that are working on rocket acoustics right now.
No kidding. Designing the equipment that records it, operating it behind the scenes, the whole shooting match.
Yeah, people here, people Vandenberg looking at ascent sonic booms and landing and booms. I mean, the whole spectrum of challenges here. So.
Good deal. All right, Dr. Gee, thank you so much. We'll let you get out and catch your rocket recordings in some places.
I better be on my way.
It's counting right now. Yep. We've got another thing to show y'all briefly. Let's check in with the Starbase Science Fair, the student experiments this time. And thanks again.
Yep. Thanks, Doss.
Hi NSF, I'm Tanvi, a high school senior working with Dr. Holly's physics class to collect and analyze data from the local SpaceX launches. After looking at the data we received from our weather sensors set around Starbase during Flight 5, we noticed some really interesting changes in barometric pressure that corresponded with the launch and the booster return. At 2 of our experimental sites, North and Highway, we saw direct fluctuations in air pressure that corresponded with the times of the sonic waves emanating from the launch and the sonic boom that occurred when Super Heavy returned. These happened at around 4,500 and 4,800 seconds after we placed down the sensors at 8:15 p.m. These changes were expected, as the sonic waves emanating from the launch, which you can see pulsating as spherical light waves from the launch site, as well as the sonic boom should have changed the refractive index of the surrounding air, and that would have caused the air pressure changes that we saw on our barometric sensors. However, the fluctuations we observed were relatively small. They did exceed the accuracy specifications of our barometric sensors at around 0.1 millimeters of mercury. Still, we wanted to see those changes be a lot bigger. Also, we noticed that these air pressure fluctuations dissipated before reaching our sensors at the river site, which was a bit farther away. In order to improve our upcoming experiments, we'll be moving our barometric sensors a lot closer to the launch. Specifically, we'll be attaching them by gaff tape to a trailer in the danger bed lot, only 1,200 feet away from the launch site. This should significantly increase the fluctuations in barometric pressure we see, since the sonic waves we're measuring work in terms of an inverse square law. This means that by decreasing the distance between our sensors and the source of the sonic waves, we should see an exponential increase in the intensity of the waves that we measure. Overall, we're
今回はそのつもりだ。頼むよ、ガルマ。
頼んだぞ、シャア。
勝利の栄光を君に。
赤いモビルスーツ、シャアか。
行くぞ、モビルスーツ。モビルスーツめ、我々をおびき出すつもりか。ということは、なるほど、モビルスーツがおとりとなって木馬が攻撃する。いい作戦だ。ガルマ、モビルスーツが逃げるぞ。その先に木馬がいるはずだ。追えるか。
追うさ。
前期攻撃スタンバイ。後ろだとガウを木馬にぶつけてやる。
ガルマ、聞こえていたら君の生まれの不幸を呪うがいい。君の父上がいけないのだよ。
シャア、測ったらシャア。
Block 1 ship. They've made so many changes to the Block 2 ships. Will come up for the Flight Test 7, and we can speculate about when that is. But this is the last one of the Block 1s, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Block 2s fly.
Yep. Had a helicopter go by in the background there on the one camera. It's always like, shiny helicopter. Gonna pan or tilt actually back down again, but look at how much the frost line has grown. It's reached that bottom of the tiles behind the flap there. Some of the tiles they took off, I hope they put them on the hinge in front of the flap.
I was going to say that one of the changes that they really made, especially on those front flaps, which won't affect the Block 2 ships.
Yep.
They've really reinforced those. Flight 4, we saw a lot of burn through.
Yep.
Flight 5, it was much less, and
but
we're
still
looking.
there.
Yeah, it was still there. And this one, we want to see those flaps.
And we just saw the hot stage ring go by when the ship lights its engines and pushes itself away from the booster. Fire actually comes out the side of the rocket there, those holes that they cut in the side. Alex, what is the black part we're seeing on the back of the rocket?
That is part of the stabilizer system. You know how to lift the booster. They have pins at the top of the booster, right? That sit on the chopstick landing rails. But then at the bottom, they have these sort of as they call it, pinky fingers on the arms, right? That allow them to be able to stabilize the rocket as it is being lifted. And so those black things are like extra stringers, because when it is being caught, the arms sort of slap on the side of the rocket, and you don't want that stability point to be damaged. And so that acts sort of like a ramp for those pads on the sides of the arms to swiftly glide, as the booster descends through the arms.
Yep.
I want to talk about the scale of this rocket.
Yeah.
And Alex, I'm going to be coming back to you, because not only do you have tons and tons of stainless steel in the booster in the ship, but you also have thousands of tons of propellant.
Yep.
Alex,
mostly propellant.
Mostly
it's
propellant.
a rocket. Yeah.
Alex, how much fuel are they putting in this thing?
About 4,600 tons of propellant. About 1,000 of that.
Incredible.
Yeah, 1,000 tons of methane and 3,600 tons of liquid oxygen. So about 4,600 tons.
And remember, that is enough to get the ship into an orbit for the next flight, not this one, but the next one, and the booster back to catch. Then they have to launch another one to refuel it before. Yeah, it's just enough fuel. It's the thousands and thousands of tons of fuel just to get to orbit.
I don't even know. That number is so large. I don't even know what it means to me. How many tanker trucks is that? How many swimming pool? All the normal things that you do. How many sodas is that? I don't know.
393 feet from the OLM to the tip, right? 398. 121 meters. It's 398 feet, I think.
It's just ludicrous scale how big this vehicle is, and the fact that you can roll right up next to it is just crazy.
Yeah, it's special. It's special. Crazy special.
Crazy special. That's probably a good way to frame it. It's not just crazy, oh wow, that's crazy. They let people do that. It is just an inspiring experience to be able to be out there on the beach and see these things up close.
And on your screen, you'll see that frost line slowly start to come up past the chines.
Mm-hmm.
And on Flight 5, we saw one of those chines have what we think was an overpressure. There was a couple, they've debated that. They've gone through and they've double-checked all the wells. They probably added some more.
Yep, we saw some additional reinforcements or something, more connection points or whatever you want to call it.
And we'll see what happens when the booster comes back and gets caught for this one.
Yep. Look at the frost line there is now... What is that? 3-4 tiles up? Just trying to count how many tiles it was.
we are quickly coming up on T-minus 30 minutes for this. Oh, and this is okay. I can't wait to see the whole penguin belly all white.
Oh my gosh!
I'm telling you, I want a penguin shirt, Adrian.
There's not a lot of shiny stainless steel penguins out there, but
soon it's gonna be the belly of the penguin. I need that overlay again. Yeah.
All right, so ticking forward here, y'all, you see the propellants being put into the vehicle. SpaceX still going towards that T0, 32 minutes away. Remember, they have 30 minutes in the window, so if there's a little hold or something like that, they have some time to work with. But as of the last sort of visual observation we've been able to make here, they are going full steam ahead for 4 o'clock Central Time. We're bringing you views from all over the place. We're NASA Spaceflight, independent media organization. It sounds too formal when I say it that way. We're a bunch of space nerds who like watching rockets. We have all sorts of different folks with different areas of expertise, camera operators, photographers, folks who do networking, folks who do video and streaming and all of these different things. And we just got together, to share this with you. If you want to hang out with us more often, we stream rocket launches. We stream tests here at Starbase, static fires, hardware rolling out. If it's a cool space event, we try to share it with folks, and we answer questions in chat. We're here hanging out because we're just like you. We're a bunch of space nerds. We don't have a big company behind us telling us what we're supposed to say or anything like that. We just want to see the rocket fly.
That's right. And, you know, everybody kind of takes a role. They own it, right? You've got the camera operators and the writers and the Alex and the Ryan and the science guys and Adrian answering questions. Yep. And I think today, Adrian has the hardest job.
Probably so, because y'all almost crash our shop every time he puts a new product in the shop.
Yeah, we're coming up on 85,000 watching the streamer now. We love each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much. Adrian, let's say some thank you to these folks because we've got new members.
Absolutely, and I want to once again shout out here Robert, who already, if you remember, gifted 50 Red Team memberships, and just did that again. So that's now 100 Red Team memberships gifted. Thank you so much, Robert. There are no words, and I hope everybody that gets these says a very warm thank you to Robert. Yep. Then we also have Tipcentric here with a £10 super chat. Thank you for all the excellent content. I watch everything and have since the hobby days. IFT7 this year? Question mark. What do you think? Much love from Tipcentric.
This year? I don't think so.
That'd be pushing it.
Check it in. Guys, real quick, checking in with a Rocket Ranch there. You'll see random people starting to show up. That is the viewing area over at Rocket Ranch. I love seeing the kids in the front, like, ready to see this go.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way, yeah.
Don't panic. Everything will be fine. If you get the reference, you get the reference.
You can actually buy tickets to watch from there. That's about 4 miles away. It's the closest place that members of the general public can get. They do sell tickets to watch from their viewing outpost. Cool people, too, honestly. Yeah. And that, cool. 8... 7.
Oh, we're coming up.
Us down to
Here we go.
10 minus on my mark. 30 minutes.
Here we go.
Before the opening of the window for Starship Flight Test 6 out here in South Texas. Now, that's my cue because I need to hop off of comms here and run up to the roof and make sure that the robotic tracking camera and all the other equipment up there is all online. So, Gene, can I leave it with you and Adrian and Alex here?
We got it. I've got a question for Alex while you head up there and bring us some amazing footage.
I'll check in with y'all in a minute.
So when we just passed T30 minutes, right? And can you quickly give us a quick rundown of what's going to happen when we really get to that excitement guaranteed moment? Because I know they can hold it at a certain point. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so at T-minus 40 seconds, they could hold if they see that they need more time, if the automated checks on the vehicle, for example, also think that they need to hold there. At T-minus 25 seconds, the detonation suppression system activates. That is sort of like a mist of gases, nitrogen with water to displace some of the methane underneath of the engines. Then at T-minus 10 seconds, that's when the deluge system activates, that flame deflector activates. And at T-minus 3 seconds, the engines will start up. That startup sequence is in 3 different sets. First, the 13 center engines on the booster will ignite. Then 15 out of the 20 outer engines will ignite, and then the remaining 5. That process takes about 2.8 seconds, and then at T0, that excitement guarantee, that'll be our launch commit. The rocket will decide whether it is ready for our launch, whether it's ready or not. If it is ready, it'll command the Raptors to throttle up and lift off. That lift off will happen about 2 seconds later. It takes a while for the vehicle is ginormous, right? And so it'll take a bit to pick up speed and start to lift off. But that's more or less those final 40 seconds of the count are very, very active. So lots of action very quickly. If they do, excuse me, if they do not hold at that point, which so far it's looking like, pad, vehicle, weather, everything, it's looking good for a launch at 4 p.m. If they do not hold there, it's going to be very quick. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for that, because again, it's going to be, detonation suppression system, deluge system, all of these things quickly in action. And, when you least expect it, you're already in the air.
Yeah. And this is a special flight because, the previous flights were done at night. right? So we didn't get that daytime landing that we're going to get in the Indian Ocean like we anticipate this time, right, Adrian?
Absolutely, and I think I have another person to throw here too, because there's a certain plane that might get some new shots then, because this rocket is launching at a different time.
If we have a, hello everyone, me again. If we have a quick look down here, we can see the WB-57 has arrived on scene. It's currently flying over Starbase. Expect it to come out this way a little bit. It'll then start doing some racetrack patterns around here. So you can see, started off in Houston about an hour ago, made its way all the way down to South Texas. I'm just going to run through everything else whilst we have the chance. Oh, looks like I'm back. I'm just going to run through everything else whilst I have the chance. We can have a look at the clouds here. They're still dispersing out this way, which is good to see. It's very clear over Texas, very clear over the Gulf. You can see it just refreshed even, and it looks like we're still getting a little bit of cloud down here towards the right side of the trajectory, so to speak, but it's pretty clear from where everyone will be watching today. And I also just want to remind everyone of the sun difference that we're going to see at re-entry, because that is the reason why we're launching at this time today. See Starship Flight 5, this is the re-entry NOTAM, and how the Terminator line moves. So we're going from moving into sunset to moving into sunrise. So we're not going to get any views over Africa, unfortunately, like we have gotten on the previous test flights. However, we will get some wonderful re-entry views as we start to come in over Madagascar, Mauritius, and then moving into Australian airspace in the sunrise. So fingers crossed, if even with those 8 rows of tiles removed on each side of Ship 31, fingers crossed it makes it all the way through to a daylight splashdown in the Indian Ocean.
Thank you, Ryan. That's amazing to see you with the maps and having fun. It's like tracking all the aircraft and the clouds and everything. And when I look out the window here over Starbase from the Margaritaville Beach Resort on South Padre Island, it is absolutely crystal clear. It is a beautiful day for a rocket launch, right, Adrian?
Absolutely. I mean, we always dream of these good conditions, not only for our photographers, but also, of course, for us, because we want to see the best thing that we possibly can. And so far, knocking on wood here, the conditions are quite good. There was some worry initially about, well, this could result in high temperatures and with that some heat haze. But that seems to be not the case so far. Humidity is actually quite down, if I recall correctly, which is good, because that also results in better visibility. So yeah, we are looking good here in the most sense of that saying. And let's hope these conditions stay that way. And of course, let's hope Starship completes the final steps here in the next 25 minutes. Because if it completes all of these steps, then we might get a launch at these wonderful conditions. And Alex, I will just throw to you here, what are these next steps that we are looking in the next 25 minutes?
Yeah, the very next thing, which should be in about 5 minutes from now, that'll be the engine chill starting. Those 33 Raptor engines on the booster and the 6 engines on the ship will be conditioned, just like we've seen with a tank farm. We've seen it with a launch tower and the launch mount. All of those ventings, we're gonna see very similar. We already are seeing some of that on the ship. There's already some of that venting going on. It does not fully indicate, though, that engine chill is underway. That venting is normal even when there's no engine chill underway. Sort of, we see a very similar behavior, for example, on Falcon 9 with the MVAC engine. But overall, that's the next thing that we should be seeing here in the next few minutes. But again, just waiting to see all of that propellant being loaded. Still 20 more minutes on the propellant load.
So this is not exactly like Flight 5. This flight profile is a little bit different because they want to test and push the limits of what's going on. They took the tiles off some of the sides, but they also have a couple things. Now, I want to ask, I'm going to go around the horn here, Adrian and Alex. They're doing an in-flight test of restarting a Raptor engine. What are the odds of a engine bay cam? I'm hoping because we used to get those. Remember, we used to get them on the hop tests. And they're doing an engine, and they're doing an engine. That might be their secret. They haven't said anything about it. We know where they're going to do this test. This is going to try it. I would love to have a camera inside the engine bay. What about you guys?
so there's a camera there. Like we know that there's a camera there. They have sometimes shown it on these recap videos that they do later. We know that this ship bay has a camera. The question is always just what do they clear and use for broadcast? And there's another tricky part here, and that is what is the exact coverage of ground stations and Starlink and everything at that moment in time? Because sometimes you're maybe are not in the perfect position to have great signal at that moment, which means you're just getting telemetry confirmation. So that's just something you can run into in orbit. Orbit internet is not as easy as ground internet sometimes. So we will have to see and have to see if they can show that, because 25 minutes into the flight, that could be a moment where the ship is basically right over nowhere. And that could be the situation where they actually don't have they have a great connection.
Alex, do you think they're going to do this relight test before they reorient the ship for re-entry, like on the uphill, or do you think they're going to reorient the ship then do the relight test, because they have to land at a very specific place in the Indian Ocean? When do you think they're going to do that relight test?
That should be about 10 minutes before entry, according to the SpaceX timeline at the very least, right? And so I think it's just going to be prograde, just like they were trying to do on Flight 3, which will not need any weird, relocation or re-attitude kind of thing. We'll see, though. They may have changed their minds, right, for this flight. It's a complete different flight than Flight 3. We'll see.
Yep. And again, once the entire ship lifts off from the OLM, we're going to be able to see, hopefully, again, those views of the beautiful blue plume coming out from those 33 Raptor engines, and potentially we'll see the hot stage ring again, right, Adrian?
Absolutely. The exact trajectory of the hot staging ring might be influenced, because in the end, that hot staging ring is kind of like a more passive object. Like, it doesn't have an engine or thruster or anything to it orientate itself. So if there's like some sort of wind shear, or it's gliding in a different way, or it's flipping in a different way, it could come down a bit different than on our last flight. So we will have to wait and see how exactly it comes down and if we will be able to steer it. But of course, we hope, and we are also trying to see if we can spot that hot staging ring here.
As you can see, the frost is coming up the Penguin. I'm never going to stop saying that. The frost
is coming up the Penguin. Really?
The frost is building its way up inside the tanks of Ship 31 and Booster 13, and we are under 20 minutes to the opening of the launch window. And I think we can hear some things from the roof. Doss, are you back?
That's me, Gene. I'm up on the roof now. And if you want to come up here to make sure you don't miss the launch, I can hang out with Adrian and Alex before we get going here.
Couldn't keep me away, my friend. I am headed that way.
All right. We'll hold down the fort from up here. Let's see. How are we looking? Did anything happen in the 5 minutes it took me to get up here?
So apparently there's a Starship and a Super Heavy booster. They're fueling them right now, Das.
Really? Hang on. Let me get my Xbox controller here and see if I can find that across the channel.
Do you really have like an Xbox controller?
I literally have an Xbox controller, yeah.
That's amazing.
I'll record a whole behind the scenes thing. There is like a behind the scenes feed that I think y'all can look at. I'm not sure if we're set to show that to you or not, but we are recording. And I'll do an entire explainer around how I have the big robotic tracking mount that's controlled by a server and an Xbox controller. And then I've got two cameras, like bore sight and coaxially mounted. I've got a wide spotting camera and then the telephoto camera. I'll do a whole thing about it and put that somewhere on the channel. For members first, probably.
There we go. We now see your camera that films you behind you as you're getting ready to track a rocket with an Xbox controller.
It's true. It's really a lot of fun.
That is an amazing setup, and that will be, of course, a lot of fun. Looking good from visibility standpoints. We just talked about that a bit with Gene, but you're of course, now on the roof. Everything looking quite clear, you would say? I
Was
think
that
so.
for Gene? Who are you just
No,
asking?
sorry. Basically, the question is, do you spot in a single cloud? Or visibility perfect?
I don't see a single cloud in the sky. I see the WB-57 behind me. I see the dirigible
circling.
up. Yeah, but I do not see a single cloud in the sky. And I see the rocket great.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are just 17 minutes now away from the potential 6th flight of Starship here, as we are positioning the team now on top of the Margaritaville in preparation for this tracking. Das, what are you gonna track? Are you gonna track first stage, second stage? Do you already have a plan in mind?
I am going to track the entire stack as it takes off, and then I'm going to focus the robotic tracker on the booster returning. So I'm going to try to stay with it the entire way. I have really fine control over this. The mount that we're using can move in increments at a minimum rate of 0.001 degrees per second. And we did the math, and the rates that we expect are in the degree per second, half degree per second. So I've got almost... I mean, what's the difference between a degree per second and 0.001 degrees per second? I should be able to track the whole thing. The unfortunate thing is this is my first rocket launch to try and track here. I haven't used this setup. I tracked lots of planes, I tracked birds, I tracked all sorts of stuff, but I didn't get down to the Cape to practice before this launch. So we're going to see how it goes, but I am ridiculously excited right now, Adrian.
I mean, I totally get that. It's, I mean, it would be your first catch in person.
As we continue to stand by here, I'm probably talking over somebody.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I will just continue to talk here as we are getting ready here for the final few minutes in the countdown, and the rocket looks almost full now. Both booster and ship are basically wrapping up their propellant load here. So yeah, absolutely. Who's on your roof with you? Who's tracking with you today?
So we've got the whole team up here. Jason and Gene both made it, and I am up here as well. So we've got 3 NSF folks currently ready to go. There's a lot of other folks as well here with us. The team from NASA actually has some of their tracking cameras up here. Cool experiments happening too. So we are here on the roof, ready to go in just under 15 minutes.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this. Let's see here if I find some more quick questions here, as we are already almost there. Let's see here. I don't have a quick question for you right now. Das, do you have anything that you notice right now that you can quickly throw in there?
Adrian, I noticed that it's a beautiful day. It's nice and cool up here on the roof. We're actually in the shadow of the next hotel condo over. So we've got a great environment up here. It's a little bit windy. The wind is nice and cool, but I'm not seeing a ton of shake on my cameras. So that makes me happy. And it is clean clear to Rocket Town. I can see all the way across the channel, all the boats in the ship channel watching. There's just barely any haze right now. It is absolutely beautiful out here.
And there you can see the full team. There you can see the full team outside there getting ready. I want to quickly thank everybody that is watching right now. We watch this right now. The easiest way to support us, just give us a like, show the YouTube algorithm that you like the stream, and that helps us a lot. Thank you so much. And
also, yeah. Adrian, y'all, this is what we do. We're rocket nerds. We love technology. We love making stuff. If you're interested in being a part of the team, reach out. We don't hide for a living. You can find us on all the socials. We're on X, of course. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I don't even know if I can name them all. I think there's a chat command for it. But I want to hang out with people who like to make cool stuff. You like cameras, you like tinkering, you like robotics, you want to make stuff and have an opportunity to put it next to the world's most powerful rocket and be a part of the team, find us on one of our socials and send us a message, because that's how we coalesce together. Just people who like doing cool stuff. It's literally what we do. Yep. Sorry, Adrian, I know I jumped in, but people, I want to make more friends, more rocket friends.
I mean, this is literally, I think, the story for every single person on the team. Everybody just decided at some point, hey, I really like rockets. Let's do rockets together.
Yep,
So
you got it. It's not like we put out a job ad or anything like that. Somebody comes through and they say, hey, I do voice commentary. Do you need another commentator? Like, I'd love to talk about rockets. I've been following everything you do. And then all of a sudden, Gene is here with us. We get somebody, hey, I love working on streams. I know vMix. Can I help y'all out? And then all of a sudden we have more stream operators, commentators, article writers, whatever it is. Don't be bashful. We are rocket nerds, and if you're a rocket nerd who loves to make cool stuff, come hang out with us. Also, like and subscribe or whatever. That's less important.
Yeah, the most important thing is have fun and enjoy rockets, world. Really.
Okay.
That's what we
want.
want.
Hey, Adrian?
Absolutely.
I'm going to pass my headset over to Gene, and I'm going to let Gene handle the commentary while I make sure everything is ready to go from a tracking mount perspective. And I need chat at T-minus 60 seconds to spam remember to record.
Oh, yeah,
chat,
absolutely.
Please. So I remember to hit record.
All right, you got the assignment, chat. Everybody, thanks for that, Das. And Gene, do I have you back now? I'm not sure how fast that switch was.
I am here.
Hello.
It was real fast.
Nice.
I am positioned in between two amazing cameras ready to see this rocket launch up on the roof of the Margaritaville Beach Resort. And I changed my shirt. I want everybody to know I changed my shirt. I'm a Star Trek Original Series fan. I've got my shirt on. I can't wait. I have no optics. It is my eyes and that rocket. And you can do that too by coming here to South Padre Island. I can't wait. Excitement is guaranteed, right, guys?
I think excitement is very much guaranteed, and we are also confirming at this point, we confirm, SpaceX confirms, that both engines on ship and boosters are preparing and are in engine chill. Engine chill meaning that SpaceX is preparing for the super flow of the very cold liquids, and letting a little bit of liquid oxygen in there, and making sure they're chilling them down, preparing them so they don't cryo-shock them. So all of the 39 engines, that 33 on the booster and that 6 on the ship, are an engine chill. This is the final few steps we are having here. We are progressing through right now, and I will just continue on until let's see here. And of course, we have 10 more minutes here. Remember, and I want to emphasize this, there is a potential hold point at T-minus 40 seconds. SpaceX has not always opted to take this hold point. That hold point is completely optional. Sometimes they just blast right through and just ignore it at all. Sometimes they hold. So be prepared for either... Oh, go ahead, Alex.
If they were to blow through that hold and not hold, this will be the first time they have no delays to the first. I guess they did delay since yesterday. Okay, fair. But like, as they go into a countdown, on flight 1 they had a scrub, right? On flight 2 they delayed into the window. Flight 3, flight 4, and 5, all of them delayed into the window at the end of the day. However, if this indeed goes at 4 p.m., that's the opening of the window, and with no holds, that will be a first. Like, that will be amazingly good for Starship, hitting pinpoint, launch time with no holds.
Yeah, it's absolutely, like, it's quite remarkable. We are talking about a rocket that takes, correct me if I'm wrong here, Alex, about 9 times the fuel of Falcon 9. And they fuel it not only as fast as they fill Falcon 9, or almost as fast, but they are also doing it with such a consistency. They are doing it like it's routine sometimes. And this is the biggest rocket of all time.
Yeah, Falcon Heavy was a lot harder to test when they did that before the launch. It is true though, Falcon Heavy also launched on the first try, on its first launch attempt. So props to SpaceX, because it shows that they can really build these rockets and pad systems, even though it may take a little bit of of a workout on those.
Yeah, and I also want to give you a quick preview. What are you experiencing in the next hour? Because, of course, we will stay alive for the catch. We will also cover the ship. wherever it goes. The ship relight in space. But of course, also we have amazing photographers in the field that will try to get you amazing shots, amazing slow-mos that we will bring to you. You will get tracking that you can only see here at NSF, because that's tracking that we do. So I'm just excited. We are in the final 7 minutes 20 seconds here, and just closing in. Alex, can I just bother you for one more question here? What is the final steps? When are we sure that 40 seconds
USB-C
hold is cleared?
So essentially the last few seconds of the countdown?
Yeah, basically when do we know they're really going?
Oh yeah, so one of the things that we notice sometimes, there's this very peculiar vent at T-minus 40 seconds. If they do not hold, that vent happens, and that vent is related with clearing out the lines before the liftoff, because at liftoff, those, the quick disconnect, the umbilicals for the booster and the umbilical for the ship, those need to be retracted and cleared out of all of the flamey bits, essentially, right? And so they do that vent down of fluid interfaces, as they call it, at T-minus 40 seconds. So there'll be a very remarkable, very peculiar vent at T-minus 40 seconds if they do not hold. And so I'm going to be looking out for that when we reach that point. And so that's one of the very few things that we sort of, try to keep up.
Absolutely. And when will both stages have wrapped up propellant loading, Alex?
It should be in about 3 minutes or so. The ship seems to be wrapping up very shortly. The methane tank on the booster, you can see it's almost completely frosted over. So far, everything seems to be tracking good. The booster liquid oxygen load is sort of the last thing, because it's also the last thing that starts. So it's also the last thing that ends in that propellant load sequence. But so far, so good. I've been trying to listen to all of the updates from SpaceX. Pad, vehicle, weather, everything looks gorgeous. You can see there a blue sky as the backdrop of Starship. And so it is an amazing day today. Everything seems to be on track for a liftoff at 4 p.m. Central. That will be 2200 UTC, or 5 minutes and 12 seconds from now.
Yeah, and just recapping here quickly, this is the 6th flight of Starship. This is the 6th Starship full stack flight test. We are looking at Booster 13 and Ship 31, which are stacked on top there, and they are getting ready to launch. And we are 5 minutes away from that. Both vehicles are already in engine chill and in final propellant wrapping before they are ready to go. SpaceX wants to commit to a booster catch today of Booster 13, attempting the 2nd booster catch of the Starship program. If everything permits that and everything is good to go, the ship will fly in a bit of a different flight profile versus the previous launches, where it will go for an in-space burn to demonstrate relighting and deorbit capabilities. And also the heat shield has been modified to also prove a different approach and a bit more aggressive approach on that heat shield. Overall, everything is looking good. We are not aware of SpaceX tracking any issues whatsoever here. We're just 4 minutes away from launch. And with that, we are looking here at the final steps. Again, don't be irritated if the booster looks a bit emptier. The frosting lags a bit behind, because of course it takes a bit of time from the propellant touching the outer surface to the frosting appearing. And also there is a bit of a gap between methane and liquid oxygen tank, where basically the common bulkhead is, which is the bulkhead that disconnects the methane and liquid oxygen. 3 minutes and 30 seconds here to go, and everything looking very, very promising. And of course, these chopsticks there that we see there, they will be the interesting watch item here. We want to see a catch. If everything permits, we want to see a catch here for the 2nd time. And the conditions couldn't be more beautiful, right, Alex?
Oh, boy. One of the things that I'm looking now is that sign of propellant load having wrapped up. I'm looking at the tower, at the OLM, with those vents coming up. There you go. Tower vent is back. Ship propellant load has ended. And then with the OLM vent coming back, should be coming back in just a few seconds from now. That'll be our indication that booster propellant load has stopped. But you can see also the tank farm has quieted down. All of those subcoolers that were very, very active just a few minutes ago, they are no longer active. That's normal. That's because they have stopped propellant load. And so that is the next thing that we should be having now is that now that Starship is loaded with 4,500 tons of propellants, right? Now they're going to be preparing that for liftoff, and hopefully we get through that T-minus 40-second mark with no holds. So far, so good. Every single update I'm hearing so far, it's green.
I mean,
this is going.
I mean, we might be 120 seconds away from the 6th flight of Starship. Alex, it's always a pleasure to do this with you because we have now doing what? This is the 5th flight together, so I'm excited for this, and I'm absolutely looking forward to see this fly again. There might be a chance. They go right through it. There might not be that much time for us to confirm you that before they're already arriving there. So watch for the bottom of the rocket where the suppression system and where the deluge system will start to spool up. And that is the thing you want to see, and that means they will start to ignite these Raptor engines. The holding clamps at this point have already been released. The rocket is just being held down by its own weight. There is nothing of like a hold down clamp or commit clamp anymore that is holding this stack. We are 50 seconds away. We should get confirmation if they take that hold or not any second
Let's see.
And again, watch for that bottom of the rocket. That's where we will get the confirmation. Any second now. There is the beautiful rocket on the stack. Watch if we can see at the bottom if something is moving there. No holds. So watch for the deluge system to spool up. That will be our sign of imminent Raptor ignition. First the fire suppression system. There's the fire suppression system spooling up. Next up will be the deluge. We are 90 seconds into the 6th flight of Starship. Everything looking good so far. Correct me if I'm wrong, yeah, Alex, but I see 33 healthy Raptor engines. Absolutely.
Indeed, just went through max Q, supersonic. It's, going through 20 kilometers right now. You can see there the SpaceX speed. Everything healthy so far.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Been a gorgeous launch.
And we are just approaching now the hot staging maneuver, something that we didn't give that much attention, but of course it's absolutely insane. They will ignite the engines on the ship before the before the stage separation. So what they basically do is they will use the thrust of the second stage to push the second stage away from the booster. And that maneuver is coming up, that hot staging maneuver. So far, everything looking good.
Watch out for that main engine cutoff. Well, I guess most engines cut off now.
Yep. And there it is, hot staging.
And
looking good so far.
Ship
And again,
engine
the booster will do a flip now. The booster will do the flip right away out of this maneuver. You can see it there, and the booster is now in boost back.
That's the flip.
And now we are in the critical phase where the flight director
and tower is go for catch.
Let's go. That's what we want to hear. That means they will try to attempt the catch here. The second catch attempt of the Starship
also,
program.
That boost back burn going well. All 13 engines on the booster are firing, heading back to the launch site.
Absolutely insane. And that catch is coming up roughly at 7 minutes after liftoff. So you're already halfway there from liftoff, just saying. And in about 3 minutes and 30 seconds, we will know if Booster 13 will follow Booster 12 in a successful catch attempt. Boost back burn looking healthy.
Should we say first, that's the first shutdown?
And that's good.
And then a final shutdown, it's staggered.
And remember, this maneuver is a bit different for versus Falcon 9. So while Falcon 9 performs an entry burn to slow itself down, this requirement does not exist for Super Heavy. So the next burn this booster will conduct is the
ring has
landing
been
burn.
Separated, by the way. You can see it there now floating separately from the booster.
Those grid fins.
Booster offshore divert.
Of course, because it's very
and
close
we
to
can
it right
also
now.
see that the
absolutely crazy.
The next step for Booster is going into that landing burn. Again, it'll light up 13 of those engines and then pare down to 3 engines right before Booster catch.
All right, now just real quick, we did hear the call out, booster offshore divert. Unfortunately, that means that we are no-go for the catch. As we said before, both the tower and the vehicle, as well as the operators on console, have been actively evaluating the commit criteria for that return to the launch tower. And unfortunately, we did not have a pass on those commit criteria. So we are no-go for tower catch.
And we did mention that we're constantly evaluating the criteria for catch. There's a lot of things that need to go well in order to line that up. Unfortunately, today we will forego Booster catch today. But what you're seeing on your screen is ship currently making its way towards the Indian Ocean, still looking good so far.
Exactly. So views there of the booster on the left-hand side of your screen, views of the ship on the right-hand side of your screen. Now, we said before that it was not guaranteed that we would be able to make a tower catch today. So while we were hoping for it, like we said, it was pretty epic on attempt 1, but the safety of the teams and the public and the pad itself are paramount. So we are accepting no compromises in any of those areas.
Exactly, and we're still going to get a lot of good flight data with Booster even, but especially with ship. Again, we have an additional objective today to do an in-space relight of a Raptor engine, which again will help us set us up for being able to do deorbit burns, which is
ship chamber pressure is nominal.
Which is important for orbital flights. And what you're seeing on your screen is a view from Super Heavy as it's making its way back down to Earth.
Yeah, once again, we are attempting an offshore landing of the Super Heavy booster. So we have seen this before, and it is still very fun to watch, watching it come down for a soft splashdown off the Gulf Coast of Texas. We can see it there re-entering. We saw earlier those grid fins. There are 4 hypersonic grid fins. Or we can see that the landing burn has begun on the Super Heavy booster.
And same pattern, 13 engines will light, gone down to 3 just as we expected. And what an incredible view of splashdown that we got today of Super Heavy.
Yeah, I'm sure the buoy cam views will be pretty awesome once again. So we'd like to confirm a water landing once again for the Super Heavy booster. Congrats to the SpaceX team for making that milestone as well. Now, ship continues to look good. We can see that it is, while all of that was happening, the crowd here in Hawthorne continuing to react to all these amazing views that we're getting. The next milestone is...
Starship is in terminal guidance.
Great news there. Starship terminal guidance, referring to what we see here on our screen, the upper stage, at about 8 minutes 35 seconds or so, we have ship engine cutoff, which will be the cutoff of the Raptor engines. We can see on our screen ship giving us some incredible views brought to us by Starlink. This view is also very interesting because we can see basically the receding tile line that we referred to earlier, where we mentioned we have removed a number of heat shield tiles in order to test out and push the envelope on the ship and demonstrate what its capabilities are.
Ship engine cutoff.
And there we just heard call out for SECO, ship engine cutoff. Great news there. Everything continuing to look awesome for ship.
Full view looking aft on ship here.
Ship FTS is saved. Nominal orbit insertion.
There's that call out we were waiting for. Confirmation of good orbital insertion for ship today.
It has been a very exciting afternoon so far. We'd like to send it back over to Dan, who can give us that live view experience. Dan, once again, are you okay after witnessing another Starship launch?
Yeah, totally fine. You guys have to be jealous. This is the only way to do this. This is fantastic. No, it was really cool to see it lift off 33 out of 33. Didn't go for the booster catch today. Initially, we were good, and then we tripped a commit criteria and did the offshore divert. So we went and did that water landing, as everybody saw. We'll dig into it a little bit more, but again, we've done it once, we've now done it twice. We're going to keep trying to do it, as this is just a core capability of Starship and what's going to make it so incredible. There's a lot left. We're just about almost 10 minutes into this flight, so about 50 plus minutes still to go. Ship nominal orbit, so it's on its way around the planet. It's going to attempt to do an in-space burn. We're going to light one of those Raptor engines, the sea level ones in the middle, just to help demonstrate that we can relight in that microgravity environment. Really critical for deorbit burns as we start to do some orbital missions in the not too distant future. And then following that, we'll see a ship entry, maybe a splashdown. As you guys said, we're really going to be pushing ship on this one. We're pretty much intentionally putting it in places where we expect it might not do so great, and all that's to try and help us learn, see if we were a little too conservative, and then maybe that opens up more capability for when we start catching them. But I'll check back in with everybody in a little bit. I'm going to tune in and watch the ship fly around planet Earth, and hopefully we see it re-entering in the not too distant future. Back over to you guys.
Thanks, Dan. Development testing, by definition, is unpredictable, which we saw with Super Heavy splashing down in the Gulf of Mexico today, but that is exactly why we test. As is standard for these tests, the area around the pad and along the flight path was cleared prior to launch, and we expect the road and beach to remain closed until further notice.
Yeah, testing development flight hardware in a flight environment is what enables our teams to quickly learn and execute design changes and hardware upgrades to improve the probability of success in the future. Please do not attempt to approach the booster in the water for your safety as well as for that of our team that will be working on recovery. Now, we are going to continue though. The mission is not done.
Exactly, the mission's not over, ship is still coasting, but it has been nonstop since liftoff, and with the booster having completed its job for the day, we are going to take a short break for the next 35 minutes or so while ship continues to coast before re-entry. Now, as with previous flights, Starlink may enable us to talk to the ship through re-entry with no communication blackout. Now we are still testing Starlink during this phase of flight, so nothing is completely certain.
Yeah, so if we do have views, we will be sure to bring those to you live. And of course, one of those views include that of our, as we said before, surprise payload, the banana. And we are looking forward to it. So we're going to come back in a few minutes, around T plus 35 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Views or no views, we'll see you back here at T plus 40 minutes for our coverage of Starship's re-entry, flip maneuver, landing burn, and hopefully see a splashdown.